Good evening, everybody. We will just allow some time for people to enter. We'll give folks about a minute to enter uh, the webinar before we officially get started. So if you could hold on for one more minute. Oh, I think people are still entering the room. We'll allow a little more time. Ah, that's somebody's delay in the video. Hey, Prentice, the panelist is not increasing. Is there a reason for that?
What's happening, people are still responding to invites and all with that. Paula has been sending out all this. That's why it's a little bit slow. She's still sending out to the remaining group.
Okay. We'll wait one more minute, then we'll get started.
Your video is not showing all of them.
Oh, I did not even know that. Yeah, so panelists, you can start your video. I thought mine had been started, so just in case. So we would like for everybody who's a panelist to have their video showing, especially if they're going to be speaking. All right. All right, we're going to get started. So first of all, welcome everybody to the Douglas Community Safety Meeting. My name is Sophia King. I'm Alderman of the 4th Ward, joined today by Alderman Pat Dow, Alderman of the 3rd Ward. We often do a lot of meetings together since we share boundaries, which we don't want people to think about, and we share communities as well. So welcome here tonight. We also have with us the commanders of the 1st and 2nd district, respectively. as well as the commanders of detectives. And forgive me, detective commanders. I don't remember the actual title, but you can share that with our residents and constituents. But why don't we have the commanders, first of all, Alderman Dow, obviously, you can introduce yourself, and then we'll have the commanders introduce themselves. And then I will just kind of give a brief overview of this evening.
Thank you.
You're on mute. Here you go. I'll unmute.
Thank you, Alderman King. I want to say good evening to my constituents who are here at this meeting. As Alderman King said, she and I work together closely on issues that affect our wards. Obviously, when something like that relates to public safety happens in one part of the ward, it does affect the other part of the ward. So 3 and 4 stand together. I'm glad to see so many people here tonight to participate in this conversation. Look forward to the discussion. And I want to thank both Commanders Alderman and Commander Wallace from the 1st and 2nd district respectively for their time this evening. Alderman King, back to you.
Yeah. So first, Commander Alderden of the 1st District, just a brief hello.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm joined by Captain Mannion, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight, and thank you for putting this together.
Thank you. Commander Wallace of the 2nd District.
Good evening, everyone. Commander Wallace, 2nd District. It's a pleasure to be here. Hopefully we can have a productive conversation.
Thank you. Thank you both. And then we've got both our commanders who are over detectives who are over the 1st and 2nd District. Commander Smith, forgive me, tell everybody your title.
It's just commander.
I know it's commander, but you're over the detective. It's called
the commander of Area 1 Detective Division.
Thank you very much. And I think we have Commander Cesario, although I did not see him earlier. Has anyone located him? Okay, so Commander Cesario, Commander Smith is over area.
He's area 3.
Area
Yeah.
3. Those are the things I didn't understand, which area the detectives were actually over. But we're joined by both Commander Smith and I think Commander Cesario is coming or perhaps is here and is having some technical difficulty. So this evening, as I said, this is the Douglas Community Safety meeting that both Alderman Dow and I are holding. Tonight's meeting had about 200 registrants. We elevated everyone who lives in the Douglas community to panelist. If you live in the Douglas community and you haven't been raised to panelist, check your email. You may have a separate email that will allow you to be a panelist. That means that during the Q&A period, you will be asked, the panelists will be able to ask questions using the raise your hand function or make comments. And then you will be called upon. We've got one of our residents, Tracy Stansel, who's the head of the safety committee for the Douglas Community Advisory Council. She will be taking names down during the Q&A period, and then we will call on everybody. We may not get to everybody, but we hope to get to everybody's, at least all the questions. We hope that the people that are called upon will at least, be able to ask a question that you might have asked or have a statement or comment that you might have wanted to comment on. Others will be able to listen. However, we will have, both Alderman Dow and I will have a Grand Boulevard Safety Community Meeting coming up very soon as well. So we had, like I said, over 200 folks who registered for this particular safety meeting. We have elevated those who live in the Douglas community to that of panelists so that we could have an interactive meeting. Both Alderman Dow and I have had webinars where it's just one way and we've gotten feedback. So we've elevated a number of you to panelists so that we can have some interaction back and forth in terms of questions and in terms of answers. So I hope that it will be a productive conversation and that we will come to some solutions and next steps towards the end. Tonight, we will focus on mainly some of the shootings that have happened, specifically in the Douglas community. So, Prentice, I believe you've got a slide up on beat 133. And so, Commander Alderden, I would just ask you to speak to these particular incidents, and then we'll have the Commander of Detectives talk about the status of them and so forth. So, Commander.
Sure. So thank you again. Beat 133 runs from the Stevenson Expressway on the north to 31st Street on the south, Clark to the west, and the lake to the east. So there's been 7 total shooting incidents in 2020. 6 of those incidents have been inside the CHA Dearborn homes, which run approximately from 2700 South to 3000 and from state to federal. In those 6 incidents, I know from some correspondence from Commander Cesario, 6 of them are in suspended status. And the 7th, the 16 November one was is still actively being investigated. That's the incident where 4 people were shot and 2 of handguns were recovered from the individuals as they were shot in the incident as well. So statistically, the alderman asked me to compare some statistics. In 2019 and 2020, we've been very fortunate. There have been no murders on beat 133. There were 7 AgBat handgun incidents, so incidents where an individual was struck by gunfire in 2020. That's comparable to 6 in 2019. So shooting incidents where somebody was shot are up 16% for the year on beat 133. Robberies, we had 21 this year so far compared to 19 last year. So we're up 10%. And then gun arrests, where somebody was actually arrested for possessing an illegal firearm, we're comparing 19 in 2020 and 9 in 2019. So we have a 111% increase in firearm arrests on beat 133. So that's a little recap of the statistics there. The Dearborn home incidents, there's different reasons behind some of those shootings. One subject was actually shot twice. We're working with, in 2 separate incidents this year, we're working with CHA to rectify that situation. We also did have 2 subjects. The only shooting outside the Dearborn homes was at 3050 South Cottage Grove, where we had 2 subjects shot. I know one of those subjects from when I worked in the 21st district. He frequented the Dunbar Park area in 2008. He still is, and that was a result of a street party where individuals were congregating in the street. The group got larger, and subsequently there were shots fired and 2 subjects hit. So that's a little synopsis of the activity on beat 133, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Okay, we'll take questions during the Q&A period, but thank you, Commander. Next beat, Prentice.
All right, so we got 211. If you look at the addresses where these shootings occurred, we can all see where they, it's all in close proximity. On B211 this year alone, we've had 5 actual aggravated battery shootings and 2 homicides. We are up slightly from last year with those numbers. We are, though, in that area, we are up gun recoveries as well. We're up 400% in gun recoveries on that beat as well. We're also down armed robberies. The most recent shooting, a lot of this is random, and it's unfortunate. I know the summer shootings, one was a large gathering. We did have a meeting. We talked about what transpired after that and how we could work with Lake Meadows and the area around that. Actually, the alderman was very effective in getting the park over there shut down at 7 p.m. And then we had the unfortunate incident at 31st and Lakeshore Drive, in which the young lady was killed in just a random shooting at 4 o'clock in the morning. Like I said, our focus on this is we have an understanding what's driving it, and we have been looking at it and reassessing how we address it. But at this time, this is where we're at with it. And as regards to the cases, we have one is closed, 3 are suspended, and 2 are still open and assigned. In regards to the homicides, I know those are still ongoing, but I would I'll let the Commander Smith speak on those.
Commander Smith here, and Commander Wallace is absolutely dead on as far as these shooting goes. The 2 big ones, as far as beat 211, are the 2 murders still open and assigned. They're active murders. But we don't have anything on them right now. In the other cases, a couple of them are currently suspended with no cooperation from the victims. So.
Okay, next beat, Prentice.
All right, so B212. For anybody who lives on 212, you can kind of tell where this splits between Oakwood Shores and Lawless Gardens. This is an ongoing issue that we've been dealing with. We are even in regards to homicides. That one homicide being at 3825 Cottage Grove. I know that case is there is no one in custody yet for that, so we are even. Fortunately, we are down in aggravated batteries with people actually being shot for this year as well, which is good. We are also up in gun recoveries or people actually arrested with guns as well. So we're up 67% with that. And we are actually down in armed robberies in that area as well. However, we know the 2 areas that are driving the violence. Again, the alderman and I have been in contact with Lawless Gardens, and we are continuing to work with them in regards to this matter because we need everybody's buy-in in regards to what's transpiring between these 2 mixed income communities.
As far as B212 goes, as you mentioned, we have the 1 homicide. We've got some information we think is pretty good, but these investigations take time, and we're still working on that. We got a person in mind, and we'll see how that shakes out. The shootings earlier in the year, there's not much moving with them, but the most recent ones, you have one on October 10th, where this was the offender and the victim were known to each other. That's been clear closed, which it's a refusal to prosecute on that one. And then we have another one, the one from September 12th. They're still working on that one. And that's the from 36th and Rhodes.
Right. Commander, can you just give the perimeters for beat 211 and beat 212 really quickly?
All right, so B212 is 35th to Pershing, basically Michigan to the lake. And then 211 is 31st to 35th, the Dan Ryan to the lake.
Great. And we'll just circle back to beat 133. Commander Alderden, can you give that? Hold on, I think you're muted.
I got you. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, beat 133 is the Stevenson Expressway to the north, 31st Street to the south, Clark to the west, and Lake to the east.
Okay, great. Next beat, Prentice, and then Commander, just give the kind of the perimeters for that as well before you get started.
Oh, 213. So 13, basically, it zigzags a little bit, but it's basically 35th to 43rd, the expressway to about Calumet. So 213, we have a mixed income. Well, we have a scatter site, which encompasses some of this violence that's on here. We had three homicides, 9 aggravated batteries. We are up in gun recoveries on that beat for this year. We're at 20, which is up 122%. We are down robberies as well, though. We're down 50% in robberies. However, the violence over there is being particularly driven around the CHA scatter site over there. So myself and CHA, we've sat down, we've talked, and we're coming up with the new initiative for the new year, in which we're going to get all district commanders citywide on board, so everyone understands what our options are in regards to violence on CHA scattered sites. You know, most of these cases are still open. I know that Commander Smith can expound on some of them and give further details.
Oh yeah, 1 second. Alderman Dow, I think you're.
Yes, I just wanted to add here that although these B213 is being discussed in the context of the Douglas community, this is actually in the Grand Boulevard community as well, and will be the focus of our next upcoming meeting for Grand Boulevard.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Alderman Dow. I'm sorry, Commander Smith, you were going.
We're going to talk on we're going to start with the murders. The murders that we have for 213, one was a domestic related stabbing. That was the one on Root Street, 25 West Root. Let's see. That one, and then this other one was, as a result, was not gang related. Well, that one was not gang related; it was domestic related. Then the other one was a case of child abuse, so it led to a child's death. And then we have 39th in Michigan. That was a narcotics transaction that went wrong. The offender is in custody and charged on that case. That was 3901 South Michigan. That's right in the it was in the Amber Inn parking lot.
I'm sorry, are you done, Commander, with beat 213?
Those are the murders. I want to go over. Well, I'm not going to go over all the shootings, but most of the shootings, the older shootings, as I mentioned with the other beats, are suspended. Part of the problem that we have with some of these shooting victims is the lack of participation from the victims. So we have quite a few of those with no participation from the victims. And a couple of these, the victims even went as far as to give us bad information. And one that we have that's closed on there is old boyfriend, new boyfriend, aggravated battery incident. And that's what I got for 213.
Okay. Do we have another beat, Prentice? I'm sorry.
Yeah, those are just the rest of the, yeah, there was a lot of activity on 213.
Oh, yeah. So there it was continued. And to give some perspective, I know Alderman Daly probably want to comment here as well. We just wanted to also give folks an idea of what's going on in the city, throughout the city, in terms of shooting victims and shooting incidents. You see, we've kind of highlighted the second district and the first district, which we're not talking about the entire districts tonight. We're only talking about the area contained within the Douglas community. But this just gives you an idea throughout all the districts in the city of the shooting victims. And then we also have a slide of the shooting incidents. Alderman Dow.
Yes, I think the chart is pretty self-explanatory. You know, to say that we are in the middle of the pack, so to speak, is what the stats show. I mean, nobody wants to hear that, but compared to some other parts of the city, the second district and obviously the first district are not leading the way in terms of shooting. But clearly, it's disturbing that the number of shootings in our area have gone up, and thus is one of the reasons why we're having this meeting tonight.
Great. So I know there's also a slide that shows the shooting incidents. And this is being recorded, so you'll be able to view these slides on Facebook. We'll probably also download it and send a link out as well. So in case you don't get some information that you need immediately, you'll be able to review it. Alderman Dow and I wanted to spend most of our time with you all tonight with your own questions and answers. I said at the beginning of this webinar that, you know, we had over 200 registrants for tonight's meeting. We elevated everybody who lives in the Douglas community to that of panelists. Tonight, we have with us Tracy Stansel, who will be writing down your names as she sees them. If you have questions, we will start while you're raising your hands. We will start with, and Prentice, why don't you take down the Q&A? What I will do is there are some questions that have been provided in the chat. And I will start with those questions so that if you have a question and or statement, Tracy, Ms. Stansel will take your name down, and then we will go in the order until time kind of runs out. We will have 30 to 40 minutes or so for questions and answers unless they get redundant. And then we will call on our commanders or ourselves to try and answer the question. So we will start with, again, some Q&A that is in the chat and start with those questions. But just to reiterate, we elevated everyone who lives in the Douglas community. As both Alderman Dow and I have stated, we will also have a community safety meeting for the Grand Boulevard community soon after this. And so there were a number of folks who live in that community who signed up for this. But in order to make it more interactive, as opposed to us just speaking to you, we wanted to make sure that everybody's questions and answers got answered in real time. So we wanted to elevate those folks who live in the Douglas community up. But while Tracy is getting to those questions or folks who'd like to ask questions, I will start with some of the questions that are in the chat. So I will start with question 1. And is the uptick in shootings due to a growth in gangs in our area? And so, each of the commanders are unmuted. And if you like to take a stab at that, we would appreciate it.
Okay, Commander Wallace, I'll speak up for the 2nd District. I don't, we do have our pockets that are, there have been gang-related shootings, but we're also seeing a lot more robbery-related shootings as well, or random-related shootings where maybe the unintended target is hit by gunfire. And so I think we have identified where we have the gang issue or the gang shooting, but it's not all the gang problem that's fueling the shooting that we're seeing this year.
And for the 1st District, I think Commander Wallace covered it very well for us as well. It's a little bit of both. We do have some young juveniles who have are just more a group than what we typically consider to be a criminal street gang. They're just juvenile gun offenders who are out there engaging in violence. So we've had 7 shootings year to date compared to 6 last year, and in just at a quick glance, in half of them, the offenders refused to press charges or provide any information, about who they were with, and stated they would not prosecute. So those offenders, in most of these instances, were the intended targets. They know why they were shot. They're not cooperating with the police, and so it's hard, obviously, to prosecute any sort of crime other than the underlying gun possession in that case.
Okay.
And it's been harder. My experience has been the same. We get the follow-ups and, we still try to reach out to these guys, even though they've told original responding officers they're not talking, still try. And a lot of them don't want to give up. They know who it was. And people, when we've had quite a few, like I said, some of the ones we've closed is because they knew who it was and they just didn't want to press charges. And it wasn't so much as a gang nexus as was an interpersonal conflicts, which they went to guns. So.
Okay. Anyone else, or we can move on? Related question. Does the uptick in gun violence shootings have anything to do with the pandemic?
Well, what we're experiencing is not is what every major city across the country is experiencing in regards to the pandemic, civil unrest. For whatever reason, there's been this uptick in violence across the country. We're not scientists. All we know is we're seeing what we're seeing. And the one thing is nobody's neighborhood, nobody's community is immune to this right now. We're all, we can all walk out our door and be victims of violence right now. But it's really trying to put our finger on the pulse of what's truly driving this. And, I don't think we'll really know until, the vaccine comes out, restrictions are lifted. Do we get back to some sort of normalcy in regards to the violence that we're used to, which is crazy to say, or do the shootings decrease after the pandemic goes away? I mean, that's when we'll actually know if the pandemic drove this violence or not.
Anybody else?
I will add to that. I mean, I'm not a public safety expert, but, you know, just common sense. We're in a pandemic. People have lost their livelihood. A lot of people are not working. People need to feed their families and have money. And unfortunately, I think some of the violence that we see is driven by people's need to survive. And hopefully when, as the commander says, when the pandemic lifts, restrictions lift, and we can get back to some semblance of normalcy, perhaps we'll see the numbers decrease more.
I would agree with that. Next question, what is being done about large parties in Dunbar Park without permits?
I'll take that one. I'm not sure maybe if that's a COVID question or just a large party question, but I'll handle it as a large party question. So as I related, 6 of the 7 shootings were in our Dearborn homes. The one shooting that was not was at 3050 Cottage. That shooting most likely was related to a gathering that would have occurred in Dunbar Park, but it's certainly on the there's a schedule or a routine, if you will, where when we have extra manpower, we try to put somebody at the park or over towards the that overflow lot at 3050 Cottage, so that we don't have the issues of late night street parties where people potentially get shot. But any large gathering is obviously addressed and assessed, and especially Dunbar Park actually is kind of easy, and we've the officers have done a tremendous job this year of ensuring that 9 p.m. closing time is adhered to, and as a result, we haven't had one shooting incident in Dunbar Park this year, which we're very happy about.
Great. There are some more questions in the chat, but I will go to the questions from the panelists. Every panelist who wants to ask a question needs to turn their video on. And Ms. Stansel, I will defer to you for the list. I think you're unmuted now. So who do we have first for a question? Ms. Stansel.
Sarah Tony.
Okay. And so Ms. Tony, can you go ahead with your question?
Yes, thank you. I live in Beat 212, and there was a shooting on November 3rd that has not been reported tonight. And I was on the phone with 911 because there was a huge group of kids, some of which were from the CHA scattered housing, and there were about 20 or 30 of them on top of each other in a huge fight. While I was reporting that, gunshots were fired and the group scattered. And the response that we got from the police was that 3 different CPD patrol cars drove by at about 25 miles an hour and didn't attempt to stop at all, ever. And the kids fled, and then they recongregated within about 10 minutes. And so my concern is that, number one, with the alderman's office and with the 2nd district, we've been communicating about some of the problems with that CHA housing and with some of the group in particular. But when it rises to the level of gun being discharged, and again, I'm a little bit upset it didn't get reported tonight. I understand nobody was shot, but still, this is across the street from our house. So why are police officers not even stopping to investigate or talk to any of the kids or have any sort of follow-up with the neighborhood?
So thank you, Ms. Tony. We will get a response, but just for context, what's the corner, let's just say? You don't have to give your address, but.
It's the Chicago Military Academy is the side of the building that they were on at 35th and Giles. Okay.
Commander Smith and Commander Wallace, you guys want to take a stab at that question?
Right. Well, I'm assuming we're talking about the scatter site on Giles, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't speak to why officers didn't stop the group or But, responding to a call to shots fired or a shot spotter alert, it doesn't always mean that, the shots came out at that location. Or oftentimes when officers do respond, it doesn't mean that the shooter is still on scene. There could always be additional information that comes over. Even though you may be the first person to make a call, there could be your neighbors who make additional calls, give additional information that make officers respond in different directions or take different actions. As to what happened that night, because I wasn't there, this is the first time I'm becoming aware of it. I can't speak to their actions alone.
I'd like to add to that because I believe, I'm not sure if it was you, Miss Tony, but maybe one of your neighbors shared the video with us, with our office. And as we indicated to you or your neighbor, that it was very difficult to pinpoint where those individuals came from. As the commander said, just because you have a CHA scattered site on your block, if I can't pinpoint a particular address or unit number, it's very difficult for us to determine, where that activity is coming from. If we were able to have a unit number or a door or an address or something and tie it to a particular person or set of people, it's much easier for us to follow up with the Chicago Housing Authority and the police on, who's on the lease, are they lease compliant, and other things that we would discuss with the CHA.
Ms. Tony, real quick, you said 3 November, correct?
Correct. And I forward video to the 2nd District CAP's email address as well as the alderman.
Okay.
And just a point of clarification, the incident, no one was shot during that incident? They
No,
were just shot fired? No?
No, no one was shot.
Well, and Ms. Tony, that would answer your question as to why that was not reported out on tonight with the stats that we have, because these are just incidents where people were actually struck by gunfire. That would be reported as another incident. If it's shots fired, it's not reported the same as when someone's actually shot.
Thank you.
And that's a technical, reporting that sometimes residents don't understand, obviously, because it could potentially hit somebody. And so we see it sometimes as the same, but that's how it's reported from a technical standpoint. When people are shot, these are incidents that are reported out as as someone being shot. So those are the ones listed there. But we can get data on those other ones, but these are the ones that we have here tonight. Thank you, Ms. Tony. Ms. Stansel, who do we have next?
Have Darlene Oliver.
Okay, Ms. Oliver, can you show your video? Okay. I think, hold on, you're unmuted now. Go ahead, Ms. Oliver.
Sure. So my question is about both prevention strategies and then strategies after the fact when shootings have happened. I'm trying to figure out what are the police doing? What can the aldermen do? What can the residents do to help make our neighborhoods safer? I think it's one thing to talk about people getting shot. Of course, that's terrible. But gunshots in general in your neighborhood just bring out a feeling of being unsafe. And so I'm wondering what are actual strategies that the folks on this call, including residents, can do to make things better.
Definitely appreciate that, Ms. Oliver. And I will unmute you again in case there are questions that you need to come up that you need to respond to. But go ahead. I'd like to weigh in on that, but commanders.
It's a great question because it looks for a solution, obviously, and it's not solely focused on enforcement. Obviously, that's a lot of what our efforts are geared towards. However, for instance, most of our shootings, or 6 of the 7 shootings I had on that beat 133 are in the Dearborn homes. As a result, the 1st District TAC team has been working on a community engagement project in the Williams Park Fieldhouse there, engaging the youth in an after-school program and, attempting to make some inroads with that community and build trust. So that's, one strategy in play that's completely separate, obviously, from enforcement and arresting our way out of the problem. We do, however, obviously deploy extra resources, run extra missions, and work very closely with the detective division. And Commander Wallace and I speak frequently. There might be a border at 31st Street that separates the 1st from the 2nd district, but we make sure that we're sharing intelligence and information back and forth. And he's a tremendous partner to have. But there's a lot of other, strategies in place, and it's not that we're totally married to one of them. We're fluid, and if something's not working, if we kind of adapt and come up with different strategies, and some of them, are consistent. We do them every year. Some of them we employ, and we move on to something else. But I don't know if that answered the question totally, but I appreciated it. I think it looked to a solution. Also, from a community involvement standpoint, obviously beat meetings and getting engaged as a community, that's what we ask from the residents. Additionally, just knowing your neighbors and, calling when you see something suspicious. It might not be, if you live there, what's routine, what's not, and apprising us and making us aware of the incident so we can actually respond is a great first step.
I'd like to add that, I always encourage the creation of close-knit blocks, block clubs, neighbors getting together, doing positive loitering, so to speak, or having events on their block so that the neighbors get to know each other. And when you see something that's not shouldn't be happening on your block, that you can immediately alert the police or call the alderman's office to let people know what's going on your particular block. I think in the Douglas community, there are a number of such organizations and such block clubs, and they participate and help as we try to keep the area safe.
Yeah, I would add to that, some of the safest neighborhoods have a communication system, a close-knit organization that just stays involved, calling on the police resources every time they get a chance, but more importantly, coming together to talk about amongst themselves, what they can do. And so, I know we're forming, community advisory councils with block club chairs. Ms. Stansel is a safety chair for the Douglas Community Advisory Council. So I would encourage people to sign up for that so that we can come up with our own solutions as a community. So yeah, I think involvement is really important, and communication is important as well.
Can I piggyback off of that?
Yes.
Yes. I'd like to just piggyback to follow up with the see something, say something. A lot of times neighbors might tell each other that the incident's going on, but the problem with just discussing it with one another is that the police don't know. So we want you to call and give us the information. We might have a shot spotter that goes off, and what happens is the officers will let us know that they have a shot spotter at a certain location. The police will respond to that location, but if you're also calling in the shots fired, they can also narrow down where they're going to investigate that shooting that might be happening. They're also looking at those calls for service to determine how they're going to allocate the resources that they have available. So if there's a significant uptick in calls for a certain area for certain things, we need to know. Because again, talking about it to one another, that's great, but you also have to let us know, the police department, so that we can then go ahead and tally that information. We can't stress it enough. If you see something, you absolutely have to say something. And know that I have to treat every call that comes in like it's the very first call for service. So I get it. This may be your second call. Maybe your neighbor's telling you to call, but I still have to ask you the same questions to try and elicit that same information when you're calling 911. But block clubs, I love block clubs. I am a part of a block club, and my neighbors, well, it's my family, but they will call me and let me know if they see something happening faster than me calling the police. Hey, Beverly, we see somebody in your backyard. It's okay. They're okay to be there. It's fine. But talking to one another, building those community relationships, it only can work in our favor if we can do something like that.
And Ms. Carrington, just tell everybody who you are.
I'm sorry.
That's
My
okay.
name is Beverly Carrington. I am with the OEMC, Office of Emergency Management and Communications. Most of you all might know it as 911. So I am the person that you all are calling when you're calling 911. Well, I'm a dispatcher. I currently work in the training department now. So I train the new people when they come in, and I come out and speak to the community as well. Typically, if you need 311, it's also under the hub of OEMC, 911, 311. I know she's mentioned to you all probably seen it before about Smart 911, but yeah, we can't stress it enough. We're going to ask you a whole litany of questions. And if you don't know the answer, that's fine. It's okay. You could just say, I don't know, but we still want to gather as much information as possible because we want to give that information to the officers that are responding to that area, right? You can see what's going on or you can hear it. And then we're going to ask you some questions so that you can let us know.
Great.
Mhm.
Ms. Stansel, next question.
It's Leonard McGee.
Okay.
Still on? I
Yep.
know he said he had to leave.
Mr. McGee, go right ahead. Let me unmute you. There you go.
Okay, I have a couple of seconds because I'm in a director's chair getting ready to direct. But I have a shooting that happened at 31st in Michigan. The police were called. The police came by, drove by. I have video of the shooting. The police never followed up.
Okay. That sounds like, go ahead.
And I also I emailed everybody saying, I didn't tell them I had the video, but the issue was we've asked the station to call. They've done their job in calling. They're keeping logs. The police drove in and drove out, but you can actually see where a person was targeted, drove up in the car, drove around in the gas station, then shot another guy pumping the gas. Then they drove off and the police didn't do anything. They didn't even come in and interview or ask any questions at all. And that's very disturbing. And I'm be facilitating.
So where did you say that happened, Mr. McGee? So I can.
Happened at the Standard Oil, at the BP Amoco station at 31st of Michigan.
Okay.
And, I mean, I actually have the video clip that they gave me showing what happened. I gotta go.
So Commander, who is that?
That's me.
What day was that before he leaves? When was this? Is he gone?
Yeah, I think he might be.
All right,
This
so-
was about maybe 10 days ago, a week ago.
So, Commander Smith, there was nobody shot. It was a shot spotter alert, 2 different incidents where a shot spotter alert went off. The officers drove through there. I believe we recover shell casings on that incident. This is the first time I'm hearing that he has video. So it would have been nice to have had that video to pass it on to the detectives so they could have done follow-up on the vehicle that was seen in the video.
And you know what? And that leads me to something that I also want to comment on. And it goes back to one of the previous answers, because it's something it's actually near and dear to me as far as, and I brought it up in our ComStats, is people with private video. We can do some things with private video. If your video is good enough that we can make an identification of an offender, it's possible. I'm not going to say it's probable, but it's possible that we can charge a person even if no one is struck by gunfire. But it's got to be really good video, honestly, because the state is not, those cases aren't as strong as when you have someone who's actually shot. But for those of you who have, cameras, there's a lot of those Ring cameras. They're great. They can make good cases when we don't have anybody talking. Those Ring cameras are great. So that's all I have on that. That goes back to the question about what can people do. Those cameras are very, very helpful. Even if they just catch a license plate, coming from a shooting or a murder, we need stuff like that. So.
Okay. Ms. Stansel, who do we have next?
I'm gonna go to Janine Goodson.
Okay, let's see if I can find Ms. Goodson. Oh, I see. Can you show your video, Ms. Goodson? Ms. Goodson, can you show your video?
It's Mr. He's on there now.
Oh,
Unmute yourself, Darren.
where's, oh, I see. I see you, Mr.
I got him. I got him.
There you go. Sorry
All
about
right, thank you. My question is more of an observation, and it relates to the amounts of it's drug dealing activity that occurs on 35th Street. We're somewhat recent to the neighborhood, being here a little bit over a year, and don't live too far from 35th Street. And there's clear loitering and drug dealing activity that sort of filters down to in front of our home. And it all starts on like 35th in between Giles, and you can see it on Calumet, and you can see it on Indiana. And many times there's squad cars sitting there. And just, and I mean this with no disrespect, but just a lack of indifference, just completely ignoring what's going on right in front of them. And many times that activity, comes in front of our homes, and that turns into a lot of the activity that we're discussing tonight, which is the shooting and whatnot. And I know, and I'm not sure if it made it onto to the beat report, but there was a shooting very recently on like 33rd and Prairie, pretty early in the day, where it's now getting to the point where you don't even feel safe with our 2-year-old, going to the parks in the area. And so I guess my question is, why the indifference? What can we do to help? I mean, what is it that you're asking from the residents of the community at this point?
I will take that, and here's my thing. Officers get paid to do a job. If you feel they're not doing their job, I have no problem with you calling for a supervisor to come over there and you can express your concern to these officers. I expect my officers, when they're deployed to 35th Street, because I have a fixed post over there, and their job is to disperse that kind of activity. Now, one thing you have to understand, when you look at loitering and people are just standing around talking, we're not, what are you doing? Get off the block. We're not in that day and age anymore. However, you shouldn't have to live like that. If I lived over there, I wouldn't want to live like that. These are things that I have to constantly address. But the thing is, as you being a resident of the district, it's not your obligation, but it's your right to express your concern and let us know these things. And I hate that I don't hear about these things until I get on, meetings like this. But I want you to understand as well, we are doing, we've started a new initiative in the last couple of weeks in which I have my tag teams out there up and down 35th Street on foot, engaging these guys, telling them, hey, this is not gonna, you can't do this, you can't do that, making arrests. I need my officers out there on foot, engaging, talking to the citizens and letting these guys on 35th Street know this activity will not, it will not exist. But I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. It allows me the opportunity to address this with my supervisor.
Thank you.
Next question, Ms. Stansel.
Bernetta Bush.
Okay. Miss Bush. Does anybody see her? Prentice, do you see her?
Yeah, she's an attendee. I got her. I'm gonna allow her to talk.
Okay.
Now she's good. I'm gonna unmute her. So let's see, Ms. Bush.
Before Miss Bush goes, Miss Brandolino, I see your hand. Was it up? Yes? Okay. So Ms. Stansel, can you add Miss Brandolino to the list? And do you have Miss Edwards too? I see her hand.
I have, yeah, I have Miss Edwards and I have someone with the initials AN.
Okay, we'll put Miss Brandolino
Edwards.
in the queue next.
Okay.
I'm sorry, who did you just call on?
Bernetta Bush.
Okay, Miss Bush, go ahead.
I'm gonna ask her to unmute her again to see if that helps.
Is her video showing? She must show her video.
Well, I have to have elevators, so let me just elevate her to panelists.
Oh, okay, we were only doing panelists, but we'll take this exception. While you're doing that, let's go ahead to the next person, Ms. Stansel.
So let's do Rose Brandolino.
Okay, Ms. Brandolino, there you go.
Okay, hi, thank you. I just wanted to reiterate what the last gentleman said about the people at 35th loitering. And so I'm at like 33rd and Prairie, and I've been here just over a year. And I'll have to take some responsibility. I haven't called about any of that myself either, but now after participating in this call, I'm definitely going to do that in the future. But what I've been able to discern is exactly what the prior gentleman said. In addition to that, I've made the connection with even some of the drug runners coming down from my corner, like out of the 65 and older community. You know, there's a gentleman or two out of there that ride bikes, right? And that actually run the drugs. And I've seen deals multiple times, many times happen right in front of my house from my 3rd floor window. So, you know, and I haven't called about any of that either. I have cameras, so I'm sure I could capture some of that if there's interest, you know, in, I don't really know the context like of what's being done with drug dealing in the neighborhood and how much involvement you want us to have. I guess that would be my question.
Okay, you know, drug dealing is a crime, but here's the one thing. I don't want any of the citizens in my district to put themselves in a position that's going to get them, you know, get them hurt. And I say this all the time at all the CAPS meetings. I love the tenacity that the citizens have about, you know, taking things into their own hands. But what I don't want anyone to do is go too far. So if you have video and you want to share it, that's fantastic. And we can take a look at it and see if we can ID or if we can figure out exactly how things are being operated. But the best thing you do is, you know, continue to call the police, give the best description you can possibly give, and we can address it. You know, on a district level, when it comes to narcotics, you know, it's a little different. However, you know, we do have other resources. So if I have enough information and I can pass that information on to my support units who can come in and do something a little bit deeper, to especially to relieve the nonsense that's going on 35th Street, then that's what I can do. But the best thing you can do is continue to call. If you have video, you can make that phone call and say, listen, I have video too, if they'd like to see it. You know, give us everything you have without putting yourself in danger.
Okay. I'd like to add to that too, Commander. I would ask that you send that particular video to my office as well, because if that behavior is emanating from 32, the building at 32nd and Prairie, that's something that we can trace to an individual to that building, where we would be able to work with the Chicago Housing Authority around that issue.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Dahl. I appreciate that.
My email address is ward03 cityofchicago.org.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll take note of that. One last question real quick. You guys are mentioning Shot Spotter. Is that the like audio sensor technology that the city has in strategic places?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and is that, like, can you give us a little bit of information around how much of that is within the districts that we're talking about, like Beat 211 and that sort of
No,
thing?
actually, well, I know for myself, we're not giving that information where the sensors are.
Oh, okay. But are the beats pretty much covered
Oh,
or?
without a doubt, without a doubt.
Okay, that's what I was curious about.
You know, and I can tell you, this year alone, you're on 211, correct?
Yeah.
So 211, last year you had 34 incidents where ShotSpotter picked up gunfire. This year you've had 46. You're up a little bit, but you know, everything's up. But that's on B211. That's where you're at this year.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Brandolino. And Ms. Tansel, who do we have next?
Someone with the initials AN, but it looks like they're in the
Hold on just a second.
waiting room.
Ms. Bush should be now available.
Oh, is she okay? Is she coming
Yeah.
in?
So Ms.
Okay.
Bush,
And you see Ms. Edwards, Ms. Davis, and Ms. Swanborn?
Yeah,
Yes.
I have them.
Just to let you guys know you're in the queue. Okay.
Ms. Bush,
Is she unmuted,
I'm
Prentice?
asking her on mute right now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know where my video is. I don't know why it's not up. I'm not really adept at this, but I have two questions. I want to tag in on the activity on 35th Street. It is totally impossible to walk down 35th Street with all of the loitering in front of all of the stores and also the drug activity that goes on there. And second issue is on 31st, on Giles, I live on Giles Avenue and in this area. Matter of fact, a bullet came through my skylight and entered my house from some shooting in this area. I reported it to the police, but I haven't gotten any follow-up on that at all. And the other thing that concerns me, that there was a carjacking right down on 31st and Giles on Sunday in the middle of the afternoon, and then another over on 35th and near the Dan Ryan the same day. So there's an uptick in carjacking in this area, and I'd like to know what's going on with that.
Thank you, Bush.
Okay. In regards
Video.
in regards to the carjackings up across the city. Right now, there's a trend in which how these carjackings are happening. And it's a lot of them are targeting rideshare drivers. And that's currently the trend in the 2nd district, where rideshares are ordered. And when the person comes to pick up somebody, their car is taken from them by force or at gunpoint. We currently have a carjacking task force that is working overtime across the city to address this issue. We're also working on identifying particular individuals involved in. So that's where we're at currently with that. In regards to the bullet that went through your window, do you have a report number for that?
No, I don't have a report number. An officer did come and he told me he was gonna send me something, but I didn't receive anything on it. It went through my skylight. What happened is apparently somebody shot, it went up on the roof and then it came in my house through my skylight. It cracked my skylight.
Right, okay. Well, did you give him your information?
He was in my house. I gave him the information and the bullet.
Okay, but you got no report number?
Nope, he didn't give me a report number. He
All
just took the bullet and said he was gonna make a report.
All right, I will follow.
That happened, incidentally, that happened in late July. That's when that happened in late July. But I have been concerned about the activity on 35th Street. It is, you can't even patronize stores on 35th Street because you can't get through the crowds. The people who are just loitering in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
Between Giles and Indiana, it it is a very unpleasant experience. I've been in this neighborhood quite a while, and I've watched it change from really bad to tolerable to good, and now it's going back down the other way.
Yeah.
So I understand your concerns. So everyone that on this phone call or on this video who has issues with 35th Street, I need for you to continue to call the police. I don't care if in your mind you think it's a nuisance or I can just walk across the street and I can avoid everybody. I need for you to call the police every single time. So
Tell them why that's important, Commander.
it's important so the police show up and that the individuals who are out there understand that the police are going to come every time the residents make a phone call. The police are going to come, and I want you to understand how important your phone calls are to us, so we're able to do our job more effectively.
Well, in the GAP organization, we have a chain, and people call the police all the time. I mean, that's like a constant thing. We're constantly calling the police. Every time there's an incident, there is a 911 group that contacts the police. And so we report these incidents constantly. We have not ignored the fact that we have a responsibility to do that. What I would like to see is more activity from the police in addressing these issues. I mean, they up on 35th and Giles, they're in front of that beauty supply shop, and they come down, they move down toward the neighborhoods and down toward the housing, and it's just, disturbing. I don't even feel safe walking up on 35th Street anymore.
Let me jump in for a second, Ms. Bush. Thanks for sharing that, and I'm glad you noticed the details of kind of the uptick, the downtick. I know Alderman Dell and I were working hard on that area, and for a while we had it under control with the help of the police, obviously. But we did a number of things with the stores there, with security around the stores, and I'm not sure if the stores still have security. That's something we'll check in. They do not? I'm sorry.
I just was over there yesterday and did foot patrol. Not one store has security.
Okay, so that's something that we need to get back to, Ms. Bush. Quite frankly, COVID has turned everything upside down. It's not an excuse, but we will get back to that because, like I said, I'm glad you noticed that for a while it got better, and I think a lot of folks noticed that, but it was because of the community coming together, talking to the stores there, not allowing people to hang out and to loiter there, to have security. So there were measures that the community demanded that we need to get back to, as well as, your demand from the police as well. But I think it's all hands on deck. So
And we also had a major drug mission there where a number of people were arrested. And we also had the changeover in ownership of one of the major stores, the McDonald's there. So that was a positive point at one point, but more work needs to be done for sure. Commander, can you speak to the carjackings? I'm curious to know what the uptick is. I mean, do you have any numbers?
Well, I can, across the citywide, we're up 120%.
I know they're up citywide, but I'm curious about the second district.
For the second district, we're up 131%. So out of that, we've had 10 arrests though.
What's that in raw numbers?
Raw numbers, last year we're at 29, this year we're at 67. Last year we arrested 3 people for carjackings, this year we've arrested 10.
10?
Yes.
Okay.
And what was the citywide number again?
Excuse me?
What was the citywide percentage again?
Citywide percentage is 120%.
Okay.
And the carjackings, like the commander said earlier, before we had the carjacking unit, there's going to be, in recognition of the spike in numbers, it looks like we were going to be looking at bringing it back to the area so we can have more personnel devoted to this, because there was a lot for the small amount of people that they had in their carjacking unit because of the huge spike that they had. So that's going to be coming up pretty soon. I know that that's in the works for sure. The city has, police department has recognized that there has been a very large spike in these vehicular hijackings. We also have to keep in mind that it's a lot of these are the same crew. I mean, this is what they do. And it'll be 1 or 2 and 3 and 4 people. This is what they do all day. They'll take one car, take that, then go get another car. So you'll see that as a bunch of different carjackings, but it's these same guys. And those are the things that we're looking to crack down on now. And like the commander said, you get a couple of these guys, you can clear up a bunch of these carjackings. So we're actively working on that.
Yeah.
If I can just add one thing on the carjacking. So vehicular hijackings in the first district are up 169%. And we've seen the same thing. But as Commander Wallace pointed out, arrests have far outpaced the increase. So we had 1 arrest last year. We have 17 this year for vehicular hijacking. One of the obvious large challenges that's no secret is last week we arrested 5 juveniles for vehicular hijacking. I'm confident that all 5 of those juveniles are back out on the street right now. So when we see that kind of repeat offense, those repeat offenders out there, it's very challenging and to stay on top of it and keep those numbers down.
Amanda, do you have raw numbers as well from last year?
I do. So for total incidents, last year to date, we had 13. This year we have 35 for that 169% increase. And then vehicular hijacking arrests, last year we had 1. And this year in the first district, we have 17.
Yeah. So I know we have, how many people do we have on our list right now, Ms. Stansel?
Okay, I have 4 panelists and then 2 others in the attendees.
Okay, we're going to try and get to those and limit it from there. In the interest of time, we wanted to try and finish around 7:30. We started about 5 to 7 minutes late, but we'll recoup that time. Who's next, Ms. Stansel?
Okay, we have Lori Edwards, and then we have Aaron Swanburn, and then Aaron Long, and then Andrea Davis. So I think those 4 we should try and get to.
Ms. Edwards? Hold on, you have to unmute yourself. Hold on, give me one. Go ahead.
Hello, how are you? I
Hi.
live on the 3600 block of Calumet. I actually straddle we're Pat Dow on the west side and we're Alderman King on the east side. One of the things, I won't talk about 35th Street because I think we beat that horse to death and I'm sure everybody understands the problems that we're having on 35th Street. The only thing I would like to say, let's expand that area and let's go even further, because coming from King Drive all the way up to where the police headquarters is, it as you said, it's a landmine. You can't even get through. The stores in the Gaffey complex, that's J&J and the stores in there, and even Chase. It's bad there. It's absolutely horrible to try to navigate that. So I won't beat that up again. I wanted to go back to the lady that was talking about the kids fighting over on Giles and 36 in the scattered housing. The police did come. But what happens is that scattered housing site encompasses Giles and Calumet. So while she did not see the police on the Giles side, us on Calumet, we saw the police. They came through the alley and so I want to say that they did come. I want that to be noted so that no one would think that they did not come. Then the kids that were fighting, they ran through the alley and they started to run across King Drive over towards Mariano's. This happens frequently because a lot of the scattered housing or the mixed housing complexes, they have several ways you can go in and go out. So while you don't see the police on one side, you may see the squad cars come down the second side. And I think that's probably a problem that the police I hope they're trying to address it. But that's what happens on several occasions. They'll be in our alley. You guys are looking for them, but they've cut through the alley and went the other way. We try to call. My block is good about calling, but unfortunately, we don't always get to the police in time. The second thing is the outages of lights. And I think Alderman Dow can speak to this because I called her office several times. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of construction in our area, and frequently the lights go out, and that doesn't help the crime. That's when we hear the shots being fired. That's when we see people trying to open the car doors and breaking the car windows. I want to ask, and this has nothing to do with the police, I want to ask the alderman, what are we doing about all of these construction sites? Is anybody monitoring them? They're really bad. Some of them are so bad that we're not able to, sometimes the lights are out. Sometimes you look up and there are strange people on the block and you don't know if they're from the construction site or, whether they're just strangers. Some of the construction sites are open. We've seen kids going in and out of some of the open construction sites, and we have called the police and they have come. But I think that we need to monitor some of these construction sites and some of these open houses where the boards and, we have a lot of abandoned houses around here. And unfortunately, the kids do go in, and we do try to call when we know the kids are going in. There is a crew of teenagers. I don't know exactly where they're from, but there's a crew of them. It's about 10 of them, and they go from block to block. I'm just, trying to think of some of the things we can do to mitigate some of the crime in the area. And I think that if we kind of look at some of the construction houses and some of the properties that are not secure, you may find that the kids are partying in there, and that's where a lot of the crime is taking place.
Let me try to, you've got a lot, you packed a lot in that question, Ms. Edwards, but I'll take a stab at some of them. The first thing, yes, the construction sites for city work are monitored by the Department of Transportation. So we have people assigned specifically to our ward, and we have 2 who run around at the construction sites. I need to hear from you if there's a site that is not, where it's open or they haven't picked up their equipment. Sometimes it's not the city, sometimes it's like the cable company or Commonwealth Edison. But we will know if you give us an address or call us, who's responsible for that. And we can have that address usually within a day. Regarding the light outages, one of the things that we have in our ward, unfortunately, we have a lot of vandalism where people will continue to cut particular lights in certain areas. And we've had to have that addressed. If you have some light outages, usually we can get those repaired within 3 to 5 days. So you have to just give us a call. The city is in the process of putting in new lights, these more modern lights. And I don't know what the timing is for your specific area, but we can look into that for you. And on the abandoned buildings, you just need to let us know an address. Usually we have to find the owner. If we can't find the owner, we'll have the Department of Building board them up. If there's a problem where people are, trying to live in them or take them over, or kids are hanging out, that's information that we need to know. And we can follow up very closely and quickly on that with the police department and the Department of Building. the main thing I'm trying to get over is that we need to have communication, and calling our ward office or sending us an email. We respond to every thing rather quickly.
Right. I would just say ditto in the interest of time, but reemphasize emails are probably best because then you have a record of your communication with us,
Exactly.
as well as, you know, that's a record that we can forward to somebody more readily. But communication is definitely key. Ms. Dancel, who do we have next? And thank you.
Aaron Swanburn.
Okay, Ms. Swanborn.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks to all the commanders and Alderman King and Alderman Dow for this meeting. I have a few points and I'll just try to go through them really quickly for the sake of time. My first is, I think awareness and being all of us knowing what's going on is a good thing. You know, the more we know, the more we can try to help prevent these things from continuing to happen. So with that being said, one of the things we talked about in our CAPS meetings is, and it's come up a couple of times here, is there's a lot of reporting on shootings. And I think the definition of a shooting, and maybe that's not the right word, but is when someone's actually been shot, or there's proof maybe of something being shot, but there's clearly an uptick in shots fired. And we're all seeing it. Many of us have the Citizen app, you know, so we're all seeing it, but that stuff's not being communicated through the police department as far as the numbers, sharing those kinds of numbers. And it might have been mentioned earlier that there's a reason that can't be shared. But I think that's a little bit of a concern. And I took it upon myself to try to look at some of the data. I figured I'll find out myself. And I went to ClearMap. I called the CAPS office and spoke to someone, and I looked at ClearMap, and that was hard to use. And then she directed me to the city's data portal, and that was not easy to use either. So I guess that's a two-part thing. I think reporting on shots being fired would help all of us. And I think it's not easy data to, it's not user-friendly in the way it's reported by the city or the police department now. My second point is that I think our CAPS meeting is supposed to be changed to every other month from what I heard recently. And it seems, if that's true, it seems like this is the wrong time to do that with everything going on, because we're pretty good about meeting every month. And my third point is, it seems like we should walk away from this with some more specific information of what we can all be doing better to make a change. And some things have been thrown out, but it would be nice if there could be a document put together that could be shared with everyone. One thing that came up in a recent CAPS meeting was, because we said that same thing, like, what can we do to make this better? And one of the officers said, one thing to keep in mind is, if you can see it, report on somebody's shoes, because that's one of the things that's rarely ever changed. If they're changing their outfits, they don't change their shoes. So that was something I hadn't heard before. So I mean, that's just a simple thing to try to communicate with everyone. And along those lines, I would say if we could get detectives' phone numbers, if that's possible for people that do have video, to know direct, you know, based on the beat, so they know directly who to call rather than try to, you know, find out that information by calling a general number. That might be another thing we could share on a document that would make things better.
So appreciate that feedback, Ms. Swanborn. What I would say is, you may not be able to get the detectives' phone numbers, although I'll let the commanders respond to that, but you can certainly send us an email if you don't know how to get in contact with them, and we could certainly forward your information to them so that they can get the information that you have, just in case you don't have it. But commanders, you probably have an email or general information that folks can reach out.
As far as the detective phone numbers, you wouldn't get because we don't know what detective would be assigned. So if there's a report made, we can find out what detective is assigned if you have a case report. That's easy enough. All you need is a case report number. But any other information, just pass it through the department the same way, through the CAPS office or any other way to get to us, and we can get the videos from there. And that's as far as the detective division goes. We just don't know who's it gonna be, so we wouldn't know what phone number to give.
Right, so
But
it
one
sounds like
application is
through the
fine.
CAP's office, and someone just put that information in the chat, so yeah, I'm sure you have that though, but you can get it through the chat. And like Commander said earlier, if you're not getting the type of service that you feel you deserve, you should call for a supervisor. You could certainly email our office and we can follow up and help you to that end as well. But I agree with your assessment about perhaps having a document to share with everybody after this. So I'm sure Alderman Dow and I will have something as well. So just to try and, Ms. Stansel, who's next? I just want to get to the folks we said we would get to.
Aaron Long, Andrea Davis, and there's a person with the initials AN. She's an attendee, but she's in the attendees section, but she says she registered as being part of Bronzeville.
Yeah, so she didn't give her,
And she's been,
if she didn't give her specific address, then she was not elevated. So it just depends. Mr. Long, go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to say thank you guys for taking the time to do this. And I'll be as brief as I can be. A couple of people earlier, a woman earlier stated she'd like to expand the parameters on 35th, and I would agree. 35th in Michigan, which I cannot understand how the headquarters of the Chicago Police Department and Fire Department is so close to all of this chaos on 35th Street and nothing is done. It's beyond me. That should be one of the most protected blocks in the community as far as I'm concerned. And I hope that all of them are protected the same. But with 35th Street, with the headquarters as the cornerstone and the pillar of the community, for that much chaos to happen, steps, yards, feet away from the front door of that facility where all of the big wigs go almost daily, if not there in the city hall, is beyond me. I'm a little concerned that a couple of takeaways that I've got today are a detective division commander who did not receive videotape for a shooting, a district commander that is unaware that his foot officers on 35th are not doing their jobs, and just the whole the bullet that came in through a woman's skylight and no report. You know, to me, guys, the crime exists, and the crime has existed for many years, since the beginning of civilization. But we've got to kind of look at our officers, and with all due respect, our officers are not doing their jobs. And I hate to say it, I've got policemen in my family, but you've got cops that walk right past the drug dealers. Just the other day, I'm at the bakery on 35th and Prairie. Great bakery, by the way. If you haven't been, I would suggest you go. And they're openly selling drugs out of a parked car right across the street from what used to be the Payless store. And the runners would go to the car, they'd get the drugs, they'd walk back on the street and sell it. I see it as plain as day. I call, police come when they come. I understand it's busy, but that's kind of a high priority call, especially when I gave all of the descriptions, all of the parties involved, and I waited about 20 minutes, nobody came. By the time they came, everybody had dispersed. But as I turn the corner and I see right on the corner store, there's 3 cops, 2 squad cars and 3 cops. And they're really not doing anything. So I think we've got to kind of look at that side of the problem as well. And I think that we all know, and everyone wants to be, understanding of the times and the difficulties of the job, which I know it is. I really know. But we do have to have some accountability to these officers, to these sergeants, lieutenants, commanders, aldermen and women, to have some accountability to the officers to do their job. I do
respect the commander that said, I expect my officers to do their job. And Commander, with all due respect, some of them are not. And I also would say this. I would ask the commander and the aldermen to covertly call your office and ask to speak to yourself and see how difficult it is to actually talk to someone that can help. I know you guys are often saying, you guys give us a call, give us a call, give us a call. Trust me, it is not easy to get in contact with the people that can help us. Between the being put on hold, and I understand you're busy, between the he or she's not available, between the I'll take a message and have someone call you back. You know, we all have jobs and children responsibilities as well, and it's difficult. Just like you guys are busy, we are busy. And the faith that we have in actually contacting or getting a resolution is, at least for me, is zero, unfortunately. Last but not least, there is absolutely no beat integrity. I live on the 3700 block of King Drive. I have no idea who my beat officers are unless I go to Mariano's and I can see 211, 212, 213 sitting at Mariano's. And maybe they all have lunch at the same time. I don't know. But then where are the rapid response cars? I have no idea who my beat officers are. I'll see 255 at Walgreens. I'll see 256 in the 30 sector. In the 10 sector, I'll see the 10 sector and the 30 sector. I understand it's a small beat and it's boring, but that's what the job of a beat officer is to protect his beat. And Commander, I just don't think that our beat officers are patrolling the beat properly. With that, I'm done, and I say all these things with the utmost respect.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Long, for that. Ms. Stansel, do we have?
Andrea Davis.
Okay, is that our last person?
That's the last person that's listed as a panelist.
Okay, that's all we're gonna do tonight. Okay, Ms. Davis.
Before Ms. Davis goes,
You muted yourself, Alderman Dow.
Thank you, Alderman King. Before the next person speaks, I feel compelled to respond a little bit to Aaron. I agree with some of what he says, right? Because in some ways, as a resident here, I feel the same way. But I also think that as residents, we have to hold ourselves accountable too, to call people out when they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, or when they're not doing what they should be doing. That's what I meant. So I just wanted to just say that, leave that where on the table. I thank Aaron for speaking what probably a lot of people feel, but we are all in this together and we have to lift everybody up, and everybody has a responsibility and a role to play here. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you, Alderman King.
Yeah, thank you, Alderman Dow. Well said. Thank you, Mr. Long. Our last person of the night is, again, Ms. Stansel.
Andrea Davis.
Ms. Davis.
Yes, good evening. I've been a resident of the Douglas area for the past 41 years. I've noticed many changes, improvements, and the past 10 or 11 months, I'm gonna say partially due to COVID, it's definitely going downhill. I just found out tonight, my beat, because I live east of Cottage Grove. I don't see a patrol car, SUV, or anything until somebody calls, until something happens. I would like to see beefed up patrol. If they come through once a day, once in the evening, great. That would help. My second topic that I would like to discuss is the parking and the no parking zone across the street in front of Divvy Bikes, which to my understanding is a no parking zone. Right at the bridge, there has been numerous occasions where traffic, not just pedestrian traffic, vehicle, drive motorcycles back and forth across the bridge. I call, and by the time someone comes to respond, they're gone. Or if somebody comes, they do nothing. They remove the cones, they do whatever they want to do. And that's it. I'm calling again. I'm constantly calling. I would really like to see at least an officer, the patrol car, a beat person, at least once a day. I understand it cannot be someone here in this area all the time, all day long, but this is ridiculous. All night long, they're partying in the streets, selling their food out of their cars. I know we can do better than this. We can do better than this. We have to. Because if we don't, they're going to take over. Because they figure nothing is being done about it. No.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Appreciate your comments.
I can speak real quick on that. I know the bridge she's talking about. We've actually trying to get with CDOT to erect different types of barricades, because there's an issue over there where they take the barricade out and it allows cars to drive over the bridge. So we're trying to have them revise that over there for the upcoming year.
Okay, but I mean, what can we do now until you rebuild or restructure? What can be done now?
I can have a beat car come through there on the daily. That is a normal beat. That is a street that a beat car should be going down. I can ensure that my watch commanders are instructing the beat car to make sure they make the presence known. I know the divvy spots you're talking about, because I've gone open myself and written tickets because people do park there. Here's my thing: if the district commander can write parking tickets, everybody can write parking tickets.
There's cars down there now.
All right, when I get off this, I'll ensure somebody goes over there and writes tickets.
You know, I just want to see us do better. We have to, because if not, what's going to happen? Chaos. Not bashing anyone, not saying who's not doing their job. I would just like to see an improvement, whatever it takes. And yes, I understand we as community members need to be involved, but let us know what's out there. I talk to my CATS person, I contact the alderman. But if we don't know what's there and what's available for us to participate in, what can we do? I appreciate this meeting. It was informative, and I hope that we can have more of these as our community improves.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. And with that, I'd like to close by saying a lot of good information tonight. I appreciate the feedback that we were able to hear from you directly. We did, as I said, just to kind of clarify for folks in the chat, we elevated everybody to panelists who actually lives in the Douglas community. We know that you may live nearby or right on the border. We had over 200 registrants, and we wanted it to be interactive like tonight. I think it was really good to hear from people like Miss Davis and Mr. Long and Miss Swanberg and or Mr. Swanberg and so on and so forth. And so we wanted to allow that interaction. It just can't happen with 200 people. So Alderman Dowell and I are committed to doing this in the Grand Boulevard area. I have North Kenwood, Oakland, which I will do as well. And so we will follow up with David, as you suggested, we will do this more often. I think some of the takeaways are that we all have to do different things. Alderman Dowell and I will do, as suggested, write some things down that we all can do, meaning our offices can do, things you can do as residents, things our commanders can do. This is our community. We all have to come together and solve these issues together. And we are, I know Alderman Dowell and I are committed, and I know you all as residents are committed, and I know our commanders. I just have to say thank you to them, and then I'll turn it over to Alderman Dowell. I know she probably wants to say a few things. But you know, the first and the second district are where commanders come who are really, really good. Unfortunately, they leave us really quick because they are so good. But we know that we've got some of the best commanders in the city, hands down. There is a pandemic. I think everybody's over the excuse for the pandemic, and I think everybody wants to see us do better. And I think we're all committed to do that. I think meetings like this help us, you know, focus again. And I think we're all committed, like I said, both you as residents, us as residents, but as your aldermen and as your commanders, I know they are committed. So I want to start by thanking first my partner in crime, Alderman Dowell, who I can always count on as a thought partner, but as someone who will do meetings like this with us. The commanders, Commander Wallace, Commander Alderden, Commander Smith, thank you guys so much. Ms. Carrington, thank you for joining us from OAMC tonight. Captain Mannion, I appreciate you as well. So thank you all to the residents for showing up. You know, almost a 2-hour meeting. I know you care about your community. We care about you as well. And we are committed to doing better. And we will look for you to hold us accountable. Alderman Dowell.
You said everything that needed to be said, Alderman King. So I just wanted to thank everyone for showing up. We all live in this community. I just had a incident happen in front of my house a couple of nights ago. So I'm deeply aware of the need to make things better for us safety-wise in our community. I want to thank Commander Alderman and Commander Wallace. These individuals care about the work that they do. They're not just here collecting a paycheck. And that's something that I want my constituents to know. My email address is ward03@cityofchicago.org. I do best by email. You send me an email during this pandemic, we will definitely get back to you. Our office is not open every single day, all day long. But please reach out, and thank you very much. Everyone have a happy holiday, and see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Prentice, do I need to do anything before I leave? Will I shut the whole thing down, or are you controlling that?
No. This time around, I'm the host, so it's going to be on me, hopefully.